If there is a message for us today, I believe it is to learn to live from our heart in love. These short lessons, hopefully, will help to inspire you to live with purpose, love passionately, and inspire others. We are the change agent our world needs. I'm Helen Taves. Step into the river today with me to explore the mysteries of God. They are not hidden from us, but for us to discover. Wow. Okay. We are on a roll. I really appreciate you guys coming on a little early and having some time to chat and just hear your voices and see your faces. It feels really good. And as you know, we like to have that time again toward the end. So this week, we're going to continue on with the 5-minute mindful meditations, and a couple of reasons. One of the things that I'm finding, and I sort of want to share with you guys tonight, is how I incorporate things that I learn along the way, and then I have a really special testimony actually that happened in the middle of the night as I was heading into my birthday, and I'm going to share that testimony. And this I'm really praying will be at sort of organic sharing time with you, and hopefully, as many things are better caught than taught, this will be a time that of that kind of sharing that I hope you're going to be able to incorporate into your own understanding and your own protocols. So I'm going to start tonight. Here we go. I was really, really inspired by a book, and I know that some of us have read it. I know in our group over the last few years, we all read this book, and it was called The Ladies of Gold by James Mahoney. And I wanted to read an excerpt from it because I was just reminded of it and came across this excerpt. And sometimes we forget. And it's so inspirational to remember things that have gone on before us. Anyway, James Mahoney in his book is speaking of his experience with the Ladies of the Golden Candlesticks, they're called. They were a group of women, a Christian fellowship of individuals who lived in California mountain community a little more than 7 decades ago. Now, for me, I was living, and it was, I was young, but I remember all the things surrounding the time. So it feels like when something so magnificent is happening in your lifetime, it feels actually very close. And the main body, if you haven't read these books, the main body of Ladies of Gold presents 11 visions of this woman named Frances Metcalf. And she describes as and records for times of rapture. Now, James Mahoney undertook to do this work to prepare a collection of their direct experiences, these ladies' direct experiences of the presence of God and his messages for the world. But here's just a little part. He said, I don't know of any other ministry that was blessed with the same level of rapture and translation, similar to Elijah and Philip. When I saw that members, often several at a time, were transported, I mean physically they were transported, they disappeared and they were taken to another part of the world for evangelistic campaigns, sometimes for several days at a time. In these instances, they were supernaturally sustained either by people they met or through angelic host. Often the Spirit would translate them to a country so that they may gain strategy on how to intercede for a particular district or region, how to combat hindrances to the gospel, etc. And they would bring back reports so that the group would pray together. In this way, great moves of God was birthed in many nations. At all times of intercession, they were guided by the Holy Spirit as he brought them to seasons for specific burdens. They would simply wait on the Lord in high praise and worship, and if the Spirit didn't lead them to intercede, they didn't intercede, focusing solely on worshiping the King. The focus was more on worship than warfare, but they had active roles in both capacities. All of the earthly translations and raptures were separate from their translations to heaven, where many would return with sandals entwined with strange jewels, vest-like garments inset with 12 stones representing the 12 tribes of Israel. Headdresses were arrayed in the most living colors. Articles of clothing would be stitched with gold thread. He said, I mean the metal, not the color. These were regular occurrences with the ladies of gold. It's not much of a stretch to say they were often in heaven as on earth, and these kinds of transcendent encounters grew in deeper expression and manifestation as the following material shows. They were constant and continuous for over 50 years, starting from day one when they gathered together. He said, I recall seeing a door in the sanctuary, beautifully molded, emanating a golden hue. I assumed when people walked through it, it led to another part of the house. After many years later, when walking through the house in the daytime with Marion Pickard, who was Francis's personal assistant, I was stunned to realize the door was not there. It was explained to me that that door was a special door to heaven. As soon as everyone began singing in tongues, the power of God fell like a thick fog. It was overwhelming. I could hear the people, but I couldn't see them. It took a few minutes for my eyes to adjust enough to see the person next to me. Those who were farther away could only be made out dimly. The ceiling was concealed in a purple swirling cloud. Sometimes feathers were whirling inside the cloud. Out of the cloud, one would often hear the audible laughter of excellent children. It was open heavens, a spiritual portal like Jacob's ladder. There were numerous times the 4 and 20 elders were part of the worship, and just a consistent coming and going of the angelic host. When an angel was there, one could see them like a normal human being, fully manifested, no similitude, the outline or form of an angel. They would come, worship, and share information with the group. Often they wore normal clothes. On one occasion, I saw 2 men in street clothes sitting and conversing with some of the ladies before the service. When the service was starting, these 2 stood up and gave hugs to the ladies, then walked past me and disappeared. In all things, the revelation of the bride of Christ was foremost in their experiences and understanding. They maintained a strict Christocentricity in all their experiences. They were for the purpose of understanding the King more fully. Francis told me, how you minister to people on earth in love is what is important to the King above. Now, that was in the 1950s. And like I said, some of us were around then. It doesn't seem like a long time ago. I remember the 50s, Ed Sullivan Show, Happy Days, rock and roll, learning to dance, Elvis, learning the twist. That helps to put it in perspective. That's what we were doing while these women were going in and out of heaven. We had phones in our home that were attached to a wall, a television that had 1 to 3 channels. We walked to school and our front doors were not locked most of the time. Organized sports were a pickup game after dinner where we chose sides as people arrived, and we were home when the street lights came on. That's how long time ago that this was. Anyway, I love testimonies like this, and I'm so inspired. I'm so inspired by this type of testimony. But what I want to say is, okay, Father, You're no respecter of persons. Can you please show us how? And the word I hear today, and the Father is saying to me repeatedly, you need to change. And that change has to come from within. Let me make a new place. Let me take you to a new place. There seems to always be a pull to the new. And I feel like he's literally saying, like, take a breath. And that's what we're learning. Breathe. And it's not just related to meditation, but it's somehow a command to slow down. I hear, rest in me. Let me do in you what you're desiring. And remember, let me rest in you. We always say things like, let's rest in the Lord. But when he said rest in me, I realized I want to be the resting place. And the only way to do that is if I live my life purposefully, not just a series of random experiences, but I need a roadmap, I need direction, and it needed to be easier than I'd been making it in the past. It's not about an outward display, although outwardly we'll evidence changes. I don't think any of the women and the ladies of gold set their hearts and minds and goal to go into heaven and bring back gems. They were pressing into knowing him, to worshiping him. It's all about our understanding that when we become the rest, that he can be our rest. And I believe he's looking for a people who will be who he said would be. And to do that, I believe that we're it. I actually believe he's raising up a community. It's not local, it's global. But for me, it has this amazing local feel. I even put perfume on before I'll go online. I think, are you a little crazy? Nobody's even here. But that's how much it feels like. It feels like you're home. And I can see it, I feel it, and I know that we are all a part of it. Our changes are happening. So tonight, we're going to continue with the purpose of 5-minute mindful meditations. And last week, not last week, the week before, Linda Clark mentioned, because we were talking about frequencies and vibrations, and that was, anyway, that was what we were talking about. And she sent me an interview from Kingdom Talks of Steve Hampton. You may remember she mentioned that. And I watched it and I realized this was a really enlightening message that he was given. He's teaching in his capacity and his expertise on music and frequency. And when he was teaching it, I went, wow, what he's teaching is another part of what we already had been learning and implementing in our life. So Steve on this talked about the power of our breath. And in particular, he was talking about nasal breathing. He said, and I love the how-tos and the whats and everything behind it. As he says, when we breathe in through our nose, he says it actually causes us to increase longevity, and it's one of the strongest self-healing tools. Steve also shared the power of humming, and he said, the sound that vibrates the roof of our mouth, on the roof of our mouth, he shared it releases nitric oxide, lowers blood pressure, lower inflammation, keeps brain cells communicating with one another, and brings calm. It increases stem cell count. It repairs and lengthens our telomeres, and it flips the switch. It doesn't switch the flip. It flips the switch on stress. So when I listened to him, I went, oh, golly. Now, when I learn something, you see, I want to incorporate it, because if I don't, then it'll just be like a vapor. And I want it to be real. And just like the heart-brain coherence, where we learned all the whole bunch of things that it does just when we set our hearts and our mind in gratitude. We learned what all transpires and what starts flooding through our bodies from just doing that. So I thought, okay, I can incorporate what Steve's talking about in a 5-minute meditation just the same way. So when he put this other facet to it, breaking it down to another level of simple understanding, I saw once more science and spirituality was being put together. And what excites me about what he was teaching was the fact that it brought greater understanding to the technology that we are born with that contributes to our well-being. The very things that we began to learn in heart-brain coherence. Now, my personal quest is not just to learn, but to activate that technology to be able to live my best divine life possible and to live from the inside out, not the outside in. I'm looking for the how-tos of this body that is wonderfully and fabulously made, perfectly made, that has everything in it for my best life ever. I don't need to reach outside and look for something to bring in. The more I understood how we were made, the more I realized the external forces are a lesser form of activation to what we need to heal and survive. I kept wondering, okay, what if we're dropped on a desert island? No outside stimulus, no medicines, no group therapy. And I'm not trying to be dark here. I know we have amazing things to help us, spirit, soul, and body, but these things are not available if on this island. So would we survive or would we thrive? Then I thought, okay, that was sort of the world that Jesus was dropped into was like a desert island. When you look at it back in his time, he wasn't on Facebook, imagining, but he influenced the world. He didn't have medicines, but he healed many forms of diseases that were considered incurable. He didn't have television or movies to entertain him. He didn't need a degree in theology to qualify his ministry. He had old-fashioned fireside chats and gathering with friends. He wasn't worried about where he was going to sleep or what he was going to do next. He didn't panic when there was extra guests. He simply prayed, multiplied the food. And what about the wine at the wedding? Just what Gina does. That water turned into wine. He showed us that locked doors can't keep him out. The storms don't bother him. And children, he said, let them come to me. He didn't go into a 12-week course on how to hear the voice of God. He went into his mountain to see what the Father would say, and then he'd go and do whatever it was. I don't want this to get old. I want to continue stirring my own self up, encouraging myself, because it's a quest. It's not a striving. It's just something in my heart that's bubbling up. And I believe that we can learn to grow stronger in the reality of the I am, and less in the I hope to be someday. The only way to do that is to engage. Engaging, activating what we are learning is our strongest learning path. For me, it's taking the small pieces of what we're learning and talking to Father along the way as I personally engage. So one of my testimonies from this week is about my darling birth date twin, Jen. On Monday morning at 3:30 in the morning, I was wakened up and my first thought was of Jen. Now, we had been bantering back and forth because we're birth date twins, and Elizabeth, her mom, of course, and I'm hoping this testimony really blesses you, because it was such a time with the Lord. But when I woke up, my first thoughts were of her, and then what happened was I have this long king size pillow that had just alongside me, and I'd put my hand over it. And when I was there, I said, Lord, this feels like I'm holding Jen. And it did. In my imagination, I just kept my eyes, and I came from that sleep into this theta. You're sort of hypnotic, but now you're talking to the Lord, and you're feeling this little girl that is right there. And I said, Lord, I just love this person, and I want to bless her. How do I do that? That I went back into old pattern of thinking that I need to pray for Jen. And the Lord just said to me, why? And I went, okay, that's a good question. I didn't expect it. So I'm lying there, I'm sensing, holding Jen, sort of spooning. And I'm just going, okay, I'm going to get my bearings here. And as I was doing that, because I like to have an anchor in my heart when I'm feeling love and compassion, and going, where is this coming from? And years ago now, my 11-year-old brother was killed in a bike accident. I was in Europe. I was actually in Venice at the time. And when I got the phone call to say this had happened, I flew home right away, but flying home wasn't fast enough because by the time I got there, the funeral had been, and I came home to a very grieving family. My aunt was there, and the first night I was home, her name is Aunt Helen. I was named after her, and she was just my favorite. And we ended up sleeping together. And she and I had started to cry during the night, and she spooned me. She came over and she just brought me into her, and I felt like I was sitting on her lap. And I remember that moment of gentleness and caring and loving, and just being able to be absolutely embraced in that love. That came all over me as I held Jen in the spirit at 3:30 in the morning. And I said, oh, Lord, thank you. Because what we're learning is, if we can feel it, if that becomes our thoughts, we know we create from that place. And then he said, what do you want to create? And I said, I want health. I want perfect health. He said, what do you want for you, not for Jen? And I went, well, Lord, I am health. That's what we've been learning. I am health. And when I said that, I realized all the things that we're learning. I know this probably sounds really goofy because I'm teaching this stuff and I should really know it, but it became the reality of realities. Here in the spirit, in my mind, I'm holding this girl and I am saying, I am health, and realizing the fact there is no distance in the spirit. I don't need to pray for Jen. I am, she is in me. I am in her. We are in him. And my heart was to I am. And it was the most exciting time. I think it was God's birthday gift for me, actually. And I thought about it for so long. I shared it last night with Gina and Ed. It rocked me. It absolutely rocked me. And when we were in that place, the Lord started showing me, when you carry people in your heart, and we had done an intention months ago now for Jen, our groups, and that, and I realized that is the very truth. We are inseparable. We're inseparable. We just can't be divided. We're that spooky science that Albert Einstein talked about. We cannot be separated. And I wanted to share that because I love it when those little object lessons come in the least expected time and settle something so deeply in your heart. And anyway, so that's my story in there. There's more to it, but I'm going to let it go. It was a blessing. When we wake up, the other thing that the Lord said, when you wake up in that time between that real sleep time and that hypnotic theta time, it's also a really special time of creativity and being able to see the reality. So enjoy it when that happens. Let yourself go through that. Actually, I think next week we're going to take a bigger slice out of that, and I'll share it. Anyway, we sincerely are the technology. We are blessed. There's nothing missing, nothing broken. And since we started this modality of 5-minute meditations, I've really been blessing myself. I've been attaching the principles of what we're learning to things that we've already studied, like Jen's testimony is one of many, actually. Tonight's activations, we're going to be setting our mindfulness to 2 areas. One, we're going to do an expansion of the heart-brain coherence, and we're going to incorporate the breathing and the mindfulness to that. And then we're going to take a look at forgiveness. Heart-brain coherence, becoming conscious of what it means to breathe through your nose, is something that we can set our mind to. I actually have been doing it a number of times a day. I call it cocooning. I just find a blanket and I hide in the blanket, because it only takes minutes, right? It only takes minutes. And when I learned through that Steve Hampton teaching of what it does when we actually breathe in through the nose, it just brought me into another level of clarity and understanding and mindfulness, which is what all this is about. And so this is what I've done to incorporate this new information, and then we're going to do it together. The first thing I did is I set my breathing pattern. I created mindfulness to what we've learned, and the reality of what happens when we activate this. I'll teach that further. Then I touch my heart, and it doesn't take long to get into that zone. Those of you who are doing heart-brain coherence, sitting down, breathing, touching your heart, and just, whew, it doesn't take any time at all anymore to just get into that. I could just call it, just get into the zone. But with this particular one, now I set a conscious awareness to the breathing through my nose. And I'm mindful, conscious to the fact that I'm increasing longevity, and that simple breathing technique is one of the strongest healing tools that I can do. We know that heart-brain coherence triggers your brain to produce the hormones and energy that's needed for anything in your body, that it lowers blood pressure, your sense of well-being, you have a greater capacity for compassion, boosts your autoimmune system, and on and on. We know that. But now I've taken consciously the 2 more things. One, being conscious of what happens when you take the breathe, and then the humming. And I researched that, and I realized that the breathing of the humming produces the nitric oxide, which helps to maintain a healthy blood pressure. It's part of preventing arteriosclerosis, which is plaque in your arteries, helps to modulate your immune system. And it flips the switch on stress, bringing peace. It's pretty cool, pretty cool. So now as I breathe out, you breathe in through your nose. Now when I breathe out, I hum. Doesn't sound very melodic, but it's not about music, it's about the hum. And then I incorporate the gratitude and compassion. Do you see where I'm going? That just little things like knowing that when you breathe in through your nose and what it does, and when you breathe out in this humming, what it actually does in your body is exceptional. And these little 5-minute meditations are to be mindful. It's to help us to go from just conscious thinking, gathering information, to getting it inside of us so that we actually change our subconscious. We establish things like learning to ride a bike or drive a car, and so that we do things automatically. If we continue to do this, these things will be the things that are in our subconscious that just happens and is released, is just released.
There's some questions, a couple of questions, Helen.
Yeah.
One I had was, what is it about breathing through the nose as compared to the mouth? Like the science in that, what is it that triggers it? And the other question came from Susan is the exhale through the nose as well?
Good questions. Very good questions. I don't know the difference between the nose and breathing through the mouth. I didn't study that. But when I found out that breathing through the nose, and that it increases longevity through that very simple breathing technique, and that it is one of the strongest healing tools, that's also what we learned in the heart-brain coherence. That was, we breathe in through our nose, and that coherence then with breathing, when it connects at the 0.1 hertz, and our brain then releases all these other things that is healthy for us and actually changes our bodies. Sorry. And the humming actually releases the nitric oxide, which maintains a healthy blood pressure in us, and the preventing of arterial cirrhosis, etc., and is something that actually brings us into peace or releases any stress in our body. That's the science behind it. Now, humming, you cannot hum and plug your nose. So you're going, you actually can't hum and plug your nose. So it's a whole different mechanics from inside us of what does. And you can't hum and breathe out in the same way as well. So humming is very unique. Does that help?
So good.
Okay.
Yeah, I know Susan has her hand up, but I just wanted to say that my son, he often hums. He's on the spectrum, and whenever he's working or he will just, he does a lot of, he hums himself to sleep. It's a very common thing for him. So it's very fascinating.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, and it's very important for his body too. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay.
Susan, can you unmute?
Yeah, I just had a source for that science on the breathing, the nasal breathing. And it's James Nestor has written a book called Breath. Okay. And that goes deeply into why we do that and why it's much more beneficial to breathe through your nose than your mouth. But that's also why I had the question about, is the exhale nasal as well? And I like that it's both. So right. Thank you.
Yeah.
But if you want the science on that, it's in the book called Breath by James Nestor.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Eddie, can you write that down? Because I don't have a pen with me here.
I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So let's just do that together before we go on to the next one. I truly feel that when we learn something, if we activate it, we learn it, more and better than if we just learn something and then go on to the next thing. And also, I'm going to put, I hope you found these little 5-minute meditations are actually on just separate from the teachings. If you want to go back and just use them, people are seeming to find that very, very helpful. So I'm going to put some music on. I don't want it to overwhelm. Is that too loud, Kathy?
I can hardly hear it.
Okay.
So
Must be okay
you
then.
could probably put it a little louder, but that's good.
Okay. All right. So this is a 5-minute guided meditation. Just get comfortable, reclining or sitting, or whatever works, and allow your body to rest. Be aware of any areas of tension and just let them go. This is your 5 minutes of rest. Now set your breathing on the familiar heart-brain coherence pattern. So whatever pattern's comfortable, just simply breathe in through your nose, breathe out, be in rest. You can touch your heart area or just rest your hands on your lap. It doesn't take long to get into the zone. So just breathe in, breathe out. Now just keep that regular throughout this few minutes. Now we're going to create mindfulness to what we've learned. Set a conscious awareness that breathing in through your nose, in this place of rest, you are increasing longevity. Be mindful that this simple breathing technique is one of the strongest self-healing tools that you can do. Just receive it. Now, next time you breathe out, hum. The hum is gentle as you release. At this time, your body releases nitric acid, which maintains good blood pressure. Inflammation lowers. Your brain cells communicate with each other. They bring calm. It increases your stem cell count. It repairs and lengthens your telomeres. It flips the switch on stress and brings peace. Breathe in. Receive health. Release your breath with a hum. Release your body to repair. Be mindful. Receive health. Be mindful. Release your body's ability to repair. Now just continue to allow your body to be the technology for divine health. Rest. Simply breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Be grateful. All right. Okay. Everybody okay? All right. Any
Was that really 5 minutes?
really?
Was that really 5 minutes? That's so fast.
I know, right? Um, we all have 5 minutes. I'm convinced of it. We all have 5 minutes. Yeah.
Maggie had a question. She was wondering about hooing. I'm guessing, Maggie, you mean like whoo, like that? Yeah, is that similar, or is it the actual vibration on the roof of the mouth through the humming? Do you think that's actually generating all those positive aspects?
You know what? I'm just, I took Steve's message that he gave his teaching on this. It's his area of expertise, but then I took it to Dr. Google and I looked it up with other people as well. And so what I've shared with you is all I know. I don't know I'm looking forward to learning more about this modality, but just learning these two things is as far as I've taken it into this. Maggie, do you know anything? Do you know anything? Because you asked, do you know more about that?
She's shaking her head no.
No? Okay.
She's no.
All right.
Em has her hand up, and I know Gigi wants to say something too.
Okay.
Hi. Okay. I found it quite interesting, actually. I've been thinking a lot about writing songs again. I haven't done that for a long time, and that's been, I think the Lord is trying to tell me I need to get my act together and do it again. But the humming on the exhale was wanting me to worship. So it was interesting. I was breathing in, but I was humming when I was exhaling, and it was just bringing me into that place of worship. So I loved it. That's just a new dimension, and it's just beautiful. Thank you so much for teaching this. This is wonderful.
Well, we're all learning together. We're really all learning together.
If I could also,
Sorry.
if I could just say, sorry, I've just become unmute. I couldn't unmute before. In the Pentecostal circles, which is where I've come out of, the women, we used to have prayer meeting. Mm-hmm. It was a form of worship, and they would start the prayers by humming, and it was so sweet, and it would bring you into the presence of God.
Wow.
And I agree with what you've just said. It is a form of worship. And it was so peaceful, you just felt right in, you were brought straight into the presence of God. And that's what's familiar for me when I hum. It takes me straight back to that place where back in the day, you would start your prayers with humming or end with humming, and everybody would join in. It's the presence was just so, dynamic. And oohing, it's a form of singing as well, because we travel and sing, and we would use humming as part of our song arrangement, as well as hooing. It's again another form of worship, but it's different from singing because it just goes much deeper. I can't quite explain it, but it has much memory for me anyway.
I love that. I this is taking me totally onto a new page. So I'm enjoying your sharing. Thank you so much. Okay, Yolande.
Okay. My voice is just about coming back. I've been sick for the last 4 weeks. So I'm just kind of coming back almost to normal anyway. So if you can hear me, can you hear me?
You can.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, a friend of mine over here, she has a group in country Victoria, and she got COVID, and she wasn't getting over. The whole family got COVID. Everyone got over it. She didn't, and she was struggling, especially with energy. And the Lord taught her to hum. And she started humming. And the COVID left. The only thing that she's suffering from is psoriasis on the hands, which we've been engaging over. So she shared with us how the Lord taught her to hum. And so I started doing the humming, but with a little difference. While I'm in bed about to go to sleep, I start the breathing, the deep breathing, and I breathe in the health and the joy and the light and the glory, all of those things, right? And then I start to hum. At what stage, I don't know at what stage I fall asleep from the breathing and the humming, and then just drifting off. But I have been having every single night prophetic dreams.
Oh my gosh.
Every night.
Wow. 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 Well, I thought that this was just a really cool idea. I didn't know how deep it went. This is amazing. Amazing.
The other stuff.
Gina would like to say something too, I think.
Okay.
I was just going to comment on the hoeing and the humming, and the difference between those two. When you who, right, you're using your mouth,
Mm-hmm.
and you let more breath out than
Yeah.
you do if you hum or who. So you can actually hum longer, and if you just do it like who, you feel the different vibration in a different place.
Wow.
So the hum is here, right behind the nasal cavity, sort of where the pineal gland is, and the who, you can't hold it as long unless you know how to do that. So it's a whole different vibration.
Right. Sure it is. Sure it is.
So
Well, you know what? I
you know,
think we
the
made
science behind that is probably correct. Well, of course it is, but in academia, you feel it.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Well, I'm looking forward to reading this book and taking it further. Thanks for sharing that. Awesome. Awesome.
I just bought one, Helen, so don't buy it.
Oh, you did? Okay, don't. I won't. Awesome.
It's done. It's coming. I'll
I'm
be here Friday.
perfect. Okay. Evie, where are you? Did you want?
Okay, yeah. I didn't know, I'm on my phone, so I have troubles with
Okay.
the muting and unmuting. Also, when we hum and you put your tongue and it's on the roof of your mouth, it affects your pineal gland. And what that does is it opens imagination. You expect the result of that imagination, and it allows you to be more clear and focused so that when you begin to see, you may see a vision, you may be in ascension, you may just be going to sleep or waking up. You might even wake up humming. What that does is it opens something so the plaque that is accumulated in the pineal gland begins to break apart, and it helps us to see more what we've seen from before. Hope that makes sense.
Wow. I love that.
That's
Is
great.
that okay?
I love that. Yeah. And it makes sense
Yeah.
to what we've learned as well. Like that is so awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, you
Maggie comments here. Oh,
Yeah.
can I just make,
Yeah.
Maggie just commented, it feels like inner groaning, Romans 8:26 and 27 in the same way. The Spirit helps us in our weakness. We do not know what we ought to pray for, but the Spirit himself intercedes for us with wordless groans.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, I agree, Maggie. Exactly. Okay, Yolande. Are you there? You're muted. If you're talking, Yolanda, you're muted.
She's shaking her head.
She what?
I'm wondering if she just had not put her hand down from before. Oh,
Okay.
no, there she is.
No, I kept trying to unmute, and they kept telling me you're not allowed to unmute, and then I'm trying to, so it's going back and forth. But anyway, what I wanted to say was with the humming, if you look at the Hindus and they go, Om, that's the hum.
Hmm.
And the Om for them is the name of God.
Mhm.
So when you prolong that sound and you prolong the vibration, that your whole body becomes the instrument,
Yeah,
and your whole body vibrates.
right. Right. Yeah,
So
yeah.
that is what happens when you're doing that.
Mhm.
And what I think as Evie said was right, because the pineal gland is affected
Mhm.
by that as well,
Mhm.
which is why I've been having all these dreams,
Mhm.
these prophetic dreams. It's opening up that realm.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot more to it than we've just that we've just touched on. It's these things are really, really good. And Britt also, I seen the comments said, Wim Hof is another good resource for breathing information. Yes. And certainly a very intense learning through him. And he's got, Britt put the, what do you call it, link there as well. Okay, M, and then we're going to go on to the next, here we go, M. M. Are you there, Em?
Yeah, I just wasn't able to unmute at the time. When Yolande was mentioning about the sound, there, I have a book. It's the second book by Joshua David Stone. It's called Soul Psychology: Keys to Ascension. And he talks in chapter 14 about the auras and the musical notes that go along with the different colors. So, like, and of course the interpretation, etc. But do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. Okay, so we're going, if wanting spirituality, artistry, and selflessness, it's the blue is the color, and it's the soul.
Oh.
So anyways, that's a whole nother chapter. But I did want to say, when I was doing the humming, I was at first just doing different frequencies, and I thought, yeah, no, I want to go different. So it was a melody that came to mind.
Right.
And so I just repeated that, and I was able to hold it longer, like what Gigi was mentioning, like to stick with one specific thing. But I also like the application of putting your tongue to the roof of your mouth, because that is even more. But yeah, definitely brings a whole new dimension to
Yeah.
the whole meditation part of it. But thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's great. That's great. I see Victoria said, I had a coworker that was constantly humming in the bathroom. It was driving me crazy. Another coworker in cubicle right next to me. She was humming, driving me crazy again. Now I see they were teaching me. Haha. It's funny how there's no coincidences, is there? Just all right. We're gonna do a little bit of a jump shift here, and because I really want to do these two things, and this one, this here, I want to explore and so that we can have a 5-minute meditation on forgiveness, but it's a bigger topic. It's just a bigger topic, and it really is a bit of a jump shift from where we are right now. So we need to set our hearts into a new place, because this may require a little bit more of what I just call work from within for us to navigate tonight. What you expect, you will create, and what you focus on expands. Now we're familiar with terms like that, aren't we? Those things that we tend to think about the most tend to happen, negative and positive. If they are negative, they can be larger than life. I was working in an after-school program in Toronto, and there was a young boy who was deadly afraid of bees. He became hysterical at the sight of a bee. He could not be consoled or reasoned with when he saw a bee in the classroom. He became paralyzed, actually, until that bee was captured. And even afterwards, he was still in a state of irrational panic and took over the whole class. You may not have as deep-rooted fear, but we have some that often are in one form or another that shows up in our life. One of my favorite things to do is to wrap myself in a blanket, eye mask on, and be in complete darkness. It's my cocooning. I especially like that, to meditate that way. If you see someone on the plane that looks like this, it might be me. It's just my MO. We had a house a number of years ago that had a shower in an inside room that had no windows and that had no lights. So I would love to go in there and shower in complete darkness. I find it soothing, like a state of bliss. So if somebody asked me if I was claustrophobic, it would seem absurd, wouldn't it? Yet, if I'm in a store with no windows and narrow aisles that are confusing, a very large place, I actually begin to feel anxious. In a corn maze, I don't know if you have those in different parts of the country, but here we have very tall corn, and people create this labyrinth of, for people to go in and find their way out takes far too long. I always think they're created for people who are entertained by mimicking rats and are trying to find their way out. It absolutely distresses me. And there is no rationality that I become anxious in those type of closed quarters, or where I feel like I don't know the way out. The thought of being in a submarine is really more than I can explain. So the point is, if we focus on the negative or positive, both positive thoughts and feelings and negative thoughts and feelings, they will expand. What you think about most expands. And this is the importance of learning forgiveness. Letting go of anger or a grudge is the most powerful path to a relaxed and peaceful state of mind. Forgiveness is actually a trainable skill, just the same as gratitude and happiness are trainable. But we're going to look at forgiveness. Now, I want you to be easy on yourself here. Some situations in our life are from long-standing, or maybe it's just something that's just happened. I remember a conversation with a friend about a situation at work And in particular, it was about his boss. He said, I had conversations in my head all the time about what I want to say to my boss. He rehearsed continually what and how he was going to say things and how clever and concise he would be the next time the subjects came up. He would angst over it on the drive to work. He'd become angry with himself and his boss, and he would have conversations in the shower, getting ready to leave for the day. It seemed to come up regularly in his thinking space, and it had become tormenting. It was expanding. Another friend had been in a very compromised situation, taken advantage of in a social setting that was very embarrassing. And it was a betrayal of a friend. She didn't know how to handle it. All she knew is that the torment of what she felt and what was in her heart and in her thoughts. She imaged what was being said behind her back and felt that people were laughing at her and talking about her, and things that might not even be true, but her anger kept expanding. We may be in a simple argument. Some of the arguments we have are important at the time, it seems, but then they become so obscure. Thinking about them, giving them space, they become larger than life, they expand. They can be something that is still resonating even after you forget the details of it all. So all these things, if they're not dealt with, are embedded in our subconscious because by repetition of intention and thought, we make it real. It takes on life of its own. It becomes a reality of life within us. It expands. And the serious danger is that resentment, unforgiveness actually can take on dis-ease, and we can become ill. For instance, it's said that the root of some diseases, like arthritis, for instance, is unforgiveness and anger. We need to decide, is it something you want to allow to take place in you? So tonight, we're going to begin a 5-minute mindful meditation, learning to release forgiveness. But before we do, we need a sitting and thinking time. It's about setting our mind purposefully and to do what we need so we can be very direct about what emotion is that we're needing to see. So let's just take a proverbial deep breath, because this might be a heavy topic. This exercise will require you to make a list of people that you can think of that have hurt you or situations where you may have been wronged. Right now, this isn't our activation, okay? We're not starting the meditation. This is just a preparation. We're taking time. We're not forcing anything, and you can revisit this anytime. So don't feel pressured. If you can flow with this monologue here, then that's great. Otherwise, you can revisit it if there are things that go deep in you. It's hard to do this kind of thing in a setting like this where no one's in the room that you can hug, you know. So we just want to present the opportunity now to just take that deep breath and to really think about the situations. So I want you to close your eyes and see a person, maybe, and create the event or a situation. Picture the environment, see the surroundings of anything that you may be carrying that is hurtful, that you haven't forgiven, that is continuing to expand. Make it as real as possible. Hear the words that are spoken. This isn't something you want to ignore. Allow the emotions that you felt at the time, or maybe still feeling. Becoming emotional is okay, but don't allow it to continue for more than a few minutes. This is simply just to identify the issue, but it needs to be real. Don't pressure yourself right now. This is just a learning time, and know that you can come back anytime you want. So at this time, if you've got something, ask yourself, what made me say or do whatever this was? You can be honest with yourself. When you think of why you may have said this or not, can you really be honest with yourself? Were you angry from something unrelated that triggered you in that situation? Or was it a reoccurring event, something that needed to be resolved, but now triggered another argument, or something that brings you back into that place where you're just not right with somebody else? And what about the other person? Can you put yourself in their shoes? You see, these are some of the things that, as we're thinking about forgiveness and about situations, this can be a real key. If we can put ourselves in somebody else's shoes, it will be easier to bring compassion and understanding. So can you think what possibly could have made that person be the way they were in that situation? So now let's shift. Can you believe the good in people? Can you imagine that there may be something that might have happened to that person that you don't know about? Like, how's their personal life? Do you know? Like, I don't know. They have financial problems. Is there an illness? Did something happen on the way to the meeting, to work, to school, wherever it was? It's not about making an excuse for someone. It's simply to allow yourself to think about it a bit outside the box. Remember when Jesus said, "Forgive them, Father, they do not know what they do." Sometimes we just don't know. So the last step, I know that we're going, at a pace here, not giving you tons of time to really think, but sometimes these things will just pop into your thinking. Go with the first impressions. Don't labor this. So the last step is to picture that person and feel compassion for them. It may be a very difficult thing. That person might be a repeat offender in your life. Can you ask yourself why? And here's a hard question. Are you a part of this problem? The thing we sometimes do is ignore something that's painful, or we make fun of it or gossip about it, but we don't take responsibility for it ourselves. Another good question could be, what can I learn from this? I think where I've ended up in this time of my life, I don't feel like anything happens by chance. And I think just about everything, I can learn something from it. Now, with purpose, can you direct an emotion of love to that person? And you're allowed to say no. You're allowed to say, this is difficult. It's okay. It's not right or wrong here. But it's a question that you need to ask. Can you see that person with compassion, knowing that all of us have sinned and fallen short at times? You know what I do, and I think I've shared this before, is that when a situation comes up where I do need to forgive, and it's very difficult to do, I will actually speak the Aaronic blessing over that person out loud, not standing in front of them in person, because I think that can be confusing. But I do it in my heart, and I speak it out loud when I'm by myself, and I will say, the Lord bless you and keep you. Lord, make his face, because it's a blessing that is very dear to me and very meaningful. And when I speak it out as a declaration, it changes me. So for some reason, speaking it brings a greater sense of establishing it So find whatever it is you need to do to reset your own emotions. And we can talk more about that. Generally, when we take these first steps, we actually begin to feel better. We can see the situation from different sides. Bringing something into the light is the most important thing we do because light dispels darkness. Love will always conquer fear or anger. And you know that these aren't just cliches. This is true. When we take time to set the situation aside, look at it objectively, emotions like fear and anger begin to lose their charge. Emotions may not completely dissipate, but it's the beginning of you healing and replacing the emotion that's trying to expand in you, that's trying to find a place to lodge in you. You will not change the other person or situation, but you will begin to change you, and you will be freed. And when you do that, more often than not, the other side of it begins to change as well. Now, I'm just putting this note in because sometimes what we have to forgive is actually a criminal offense, and you may have to deal with it in a whole different way. It may need to be reported to authorities, and if this is the case, you will be stronger and clearer headed to deal with it, should that be the case. And if you deal with it, even in that extreme case, it will not have a hold on you. All right, it's a lot of heavy stuff here, isn't there? And it's hard that I don't know how to present it any other way because of the seriousness of it, because sometimes life just is. And what you believe to be true is true for you. Albert Einstein said that imagination is more powerful than knowledge. And what he meant was that if a person believes something, it's their reality and it's true for them. So what we must first learn to do is to see, to set a vision for forgiving. When we are believing, when what we're believing becomes established, things begin to change. When things begin to change, we will begin to act as if we envision what is already the truth. Our inner dialogue has to change so our outer actions will match it and not sabotage our life experiences. And that's why it's taking time to meditate on a negative situation is actually a positive thing. Anything that helps to de-escalate us or help us to replace the bad with the good is a step in the right direction in our journey. Remember, this is about resetting our subconscious beliefs. Those are the ones that took root in us by habits, right? By repetition, and sometimes with trauma. To reset our beliefs, it may take repetition to replace the old with the new. The other thing is that when we learn to forgive easily, we will prevent the repetition process that embeds the wrong messages into our subconscious. That's why these 5-minute mindful meditation process is so beneficial to us, because it continually brings us into this awareness of what we're actually thinking. We're not letting our subconscious just rule. We can bring ourselves into a creative understanding that we don't need to go into some of the areas that we have. And one of the things that's really important is to be a people that forgive easily. So these sessions about meditation are not to get us to be a monk on a mountaintop with a mantra and trying to empty our mind from any thinking. It's about being mindful. Do you remember the first session that we did when we started meditation? I suggested it's not so much about meditation that we're going to learn. It's about being mindful. It's a bit about becoming meditative. A mindful, meditative person purposefully sets a course, like a ship sets sails for the direction it wants to travel. Your thoughts and your imagination create your life, and we all have sails that need to be raised. So, forgiveness. This 5-minute meditation is one that can be done to begin a process of forgiveness. It could be one that completely releases you. More times than not, the forgiveness is a process. We may have a person or a situation in mind. So if so, then this is the time to begin a healing. Now, these 5-minute meditations are designed for you to have a guided time to this process and to help redirect your thoughts. They're here to help give you an anchor to begin your journey to discover and heal if necessary. And they can be done anytime, anywhere. It's best when you recognize a situation that could cause you difficulty to deal with, as it is immediately, the truth is immediately. If we can learn this, the scripture says, don't give the enemy any place. The enemy of your soul can be your own thoughts. Don't give any place for the enemy. All right, so I think we're just going to head in to the 5-minute meditation here. And here we go. May just leave it on a little bit longer at the end, but we're going to start there. And if you can follow it with a situation that you've been able to bring up in the last little while as I've been talking, that's great. And just allow yourself to let me talk you through it. If you don't have anything, just use the time to breathe. Just take a deep breath and just take the few minutes to just rest. But if there is something, then this would be a really good time to start that process within you. All right. Okay. Again, it's very important to make yourself as comfortable as possible, to take a deep breath and let it out slowly. This wouldn't be a good time to hum because we want to be very mindful of this process. Remember to breathe in a comfortable pattern, in through your nose, and release slowly. Now, allow yourself to see the person or the situation where you were offended. Envision the situation. If there are any words spoken, this is the time to hear them. At this time, it's okay to feel the anger or frustration. Those were your emotions. This is simply a moment of reflection. That moment may have felt very intense. Breathe in life. Take time to see the person that caused your pain. But realize that person has frailties. They have situations that may be causing their words or actions, things that you may not be aware of. Hear Jesus' words, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. Can you offer your hand? Can you see the anger replaced with forgiveness? Can you speak a kind word? Can you bless a person? Can you face them and say, I forgive you? If you caused any pain, say, please forgive me. I'm so sorry. Can we start again? Each time you walk forward in forgiveness, each time you forgive others, each time you forgive yourself, rest in that place. You are like a sailboat with sails full of wind, gliding on the water. There's no effort, no striving. The wind takes you along. Feel the clean air as you breathe in. Let peace come. Breathe in new life. Breathe in gratitude. Thank you. This may be an old wound, but what you've done is to begin a process to wholeness. You may feel lighter, or you may feel you need more time. If necessary, revisit this time of meditation when you are ready. Invest time in you. Be mindful of your thoughts, of your imagination. Let forgiveness and compassion rule and replace the old emotions. Simply rest. All right.
Can I share something that Em put in the notes?
Yes, yes, yes.
She wrote, I worked for a bully, but I didn't recognize it until after I was laid off. My healing began as I recognized the shutting down while in her presence was, yes, self-preservation, but I was stuffing my feelings, denying the truth of my particular traumatic experiences. Once I learned to send love and forgiveness down the energetic cord between myself and my old boss, as well as the energetic cord between the old me, for any part I may have had in our relationship, and the new me, then I cut each cord, severing those energies. I don't, I don't have to relive. Where did it go? There we go. I don't have to relive the tormenting emotions from the abusive past relationship. God takes it all away. The love and forgiveness covers it all, and doing it this way is quicker and more thorough than the old ways I would utilize. I think because I know who I am, then that He is within me, and as I step forward in love and forgiveness to myself and towards those who have hurt me, the judgments are gone and I'm set free, as are those I send love and forgiveness to. Amen. Thanks for sharing that, Em. That's so beautiful.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. It's a very important area of our life, isn't it? I mean, that we live in a world with other people. It's very easy to become offended. And I personally have found it's really easy to offend and you don't even know it sometimes. You know, we just can't be that fragile, but we do know that we need to be able to operate in love, compassion, and forgiveness. Did this help anyone? How are you with this? Thank you for sharing that, Em. That's such a powerful testimony. Oh, there you are.
Yolande had her hand up, but I'm not sure if she wanted to share, but
Okay.
there
No.
she is.
I was just saying, yes, thank you. It did help because, yeah, there've been a number of situations where I was struggling, you know, and I've been addressing the issues for a long time. So thank you. It definitely did help.
Okay.
Thanks, Helen.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. It's very difficult at times, isn't it? Sometimes it's difficult to recognize that there's even been an offense. You know, we carry something, we're the tough guy, not going to let it get to us. Yeah. Lana.
Okay, unmuted. This is extremely good and beneficial. I've been going through something over the last little while, and just this weekend I had a time where I thought, you know what, I need to make sure I'm 100% clean, that I have not offended, that I have forgiven, that I've asked for forgiveness. So this just adds completely to what I was already working through. But it's so true. You don't know when you've offended somebody, or even sometimes what you've done, but it doesn't matter. It's just, you want a clean slate. So yeah, this is extremely good. And I cheated, I recorded it, so I'm ready to go back. Anyway,
This will go.
I won't share it.
Oh, you may. You actually
Oh,
may.
I can.
You can share anything. Yeah. I don't mind at all, but this will go up on the river, and I'm going to take the two 5-minute mindful meditations, and they will go on separately. So you're welcome to do that.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Helen, that it was interesting that happened almost 2 years ago. But I mean, I was working with that individual for over 6.5 years. But I'm learning to be more in tune when the Lord shows me that I still have angst towards someone, or that there's something that I have not quite let go. And I was not feeling good about a certain thing just early this morning. And so I had a list, and I did exactly what I did with my ex-boss, and it went away, that yucky feeling of, that there's something just not quite right. It was like it was a pressure or a trigger or something, but it went away, and my rest of my day was good. And then of course the Lord brings something up here this afternoon about a cousin of mine that I had dropped in for a visit, and yeah, was not a good time for her, I guess. She was on a real, yeah. So I got slammed, but I recognized that, and I thought, you know what, she's on her own journey, and that happened a number of years ago, and it was, I don't know, I don't even know if I was a Christian yet, but I went through the same thing again. I just, as tonight here, that's what I did, is I set love and forgiveness towards her, and I feel good. Yeah, it's that peace that passeth all understanding, perfect love that casts out all fear, and the love and forgiveness just covers it all.
Well, you're right. That's so right. It's so good because they aren't just cliches. That's our living life reality in Christ. That's
Mhm.
He's our plumb line to everything. And the thing in our life, because we keep coming back realizing the plumb line for us is to be Christ-centered. And our goal is what he modeled. And so it isn't even about at this stage for I'm sure all of us here, that it isn't about what we're doing the outside, and because we have filters and we actually care very deeply. It's about keeping our insides free.
Mhm.
And it's really, really important. We're living with us first.
Yeah,
That is the most important thing. If
exactly.
nobody ever knows what we do or say, if that part of us is right and clean, we are unlimited. We really are.
Amen.
Okay, Bev.
It was wonderful to hear that about forgiveness. It is such a key thing in so many lives, so many marriages, so many everything. I was wondering if you had like if it was in your notes where like we could print them, I could print them or whatever, because I'm more of a person that rereads or that kind of thing. I don't know if that's possible, but
100% possible for you, anything.
wonderful.
Okay. Maybe I'll put the notes into on
Just especially the forgiveness notes, those ones, so that I could hand them or give them to other family members or this kind of thing as well, because maybe they can't always listen to you.
Yeah, no, I like having something in my lap. I totally understand that.
Okay, wonderful.
And if anyone would like them, just message me or not, no, email me. That would be just my pleasure. My
So
pleasure.
do I have to email you or you know now?
You know what? Only because sometimes I don't carry the same thought all the way through till morning. Maybe email me. I don't have pen and paper here, so
That's okay.
I will remember you, Bev. I will
Okay,
remember.
thank you
But
so
if
much.
you do that, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Elizabeth.
Yes. So as you were going through that, I was thinking about my brother-in-law and his dad, which right now is just such a hard situation, but it was so powerful as I was just lifting them up as you were going through it. And then when you said, can we begin again? Oh my gosh, that like almost made me cry because I felt God's heart for them. And just like you were doing with Jen this morning, I felt like me holding them as you were reading that was literally penetrating that situation. So that's so powerful. And the other thing I wanted to share is, I think I've shared with you before, how I love listening to near-death experiences. And Todd's laughing behind me because I'm always talking about it. But, in the spirit realm, like when we pass, if there's anything unfinished, like we see perfectly the other person and we see completely where they came from. And, he wipes away all of our tears and we understand everything, why we did what we did, why they did what they did. And it's all perfect. And hearing that has helped me so much, be able to literally step into that now while I'm here, because I know that that's the truth.
Right. Right.
So I love this exercise. It's so important for our hearts to be free
Yeah.
and clean and just love to flow,
Yeah.
whatever the situation is, So yeah, thank you for that.
That's so good, Elizabeth. I agree with you 100%. And isn't it cool that when there are people in our lives, and you may never have to go and ask for forgiveness or anything like that. You can just forgive, and it frees them and it frees you, and the world's a much better place to live in. That's really good. Awesome.
Evie wrote something. Evie wrote, our living in continual forgiveness maintains us in the freedom already given to us and in full unlimited love.
Oh, that's so good. That's so true, isn't it? So good. Wow. Thank you. Okay, Gina. Gigi. Not letting you in. Vata.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you. It made me remember. I mean, I hadn't forgotten, but it reminded me of there's a beautiful Hawaiian teaching on forgiveness called the Ho'oponopono. And it is 4 statements, which I always do in a meditation. And interestingly enough, as I say, the first thing we just sort of do an over and over saying in our minds of I'm sorry. And so when we have an intention or when we have a situation that we're thinking about, as I'm saying over and over, I'm sorry, I'm understanding and I'm realizing what I'm sorry for. And so it's a teaching on forgiveness, but we start with ourselves, which is quite beautiful. So it brings up things that we need to be sorry for. And then the next little mantra is, please forgive me for that stuff that came up. And you're, visualizing the person or the situation in front of you like we did tonight. Please forgive me. And you know why you're asking for forgiveness, because you've just said, I'm sorry, and it's all come to you. And then the third little phrase is, thank you. And then there's this amazing gratefulness that overcomes the whole situation. And you receive the forgiveness and you release the stuff you're sorry for. And you're thankful about that. It's quite cleansing and beautiful. And then the last little one is, I love you. Talk about totally forgiving the person because you're saying, I love you. And all of it was my work. None of it was, I forgive you. It was, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And I love you. Wow. I mean, when I do that, Ho'oponopono, forgiveness is so complete and so done because your stuff comes up and you release it, it's gone. And interestingly enough, the people, like if it's a person or a situation, I've done it with people, I have no issue with them. And for me, that's saying a lot. as all you know who know me. Because I'm a little bit of a fighter, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now I'm not a fighter, I'm a lover. But it's a beautiful cleansing inner thing that promotes forgiveness in such a complete and full and done way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, thank you for sharing that. I'm just going to expand on that a little bit as well. And I appreciate you bringing it up, actually, because it's a meditation that I have over the years gone to. If anyone's interested in, I think the very best one, you can study on the rituals of Ho'oponopono, but you don't need to, because you can go to Paul Bobin, Paul Paul Babin, and he has a meditation on that, a guided meditation on that. And I just want to put the two modalities here in a juxtaposition, because it's all about forgiveness. Tonight, I wanted us to be mindful in the meditation, because sometimes when we don't identify something, we don't get the complete healing for what we need to deal with. And it can be tough. And that's why this 5-minute meditation, you may have to go back again, because there's unresolved things, or things that surface, to get them out of your subconscious that is ruling some of the areas of your life, or you may be ill from it. So there's that one part. And I love that Gigi brought this up, because it is exactly what it is that we need to do. When I use that particular meditation, I often will use it for me. Because there are times I need to forgive me. I'm not happy with something, and people might not know, maybe just something within me I need to deal with that I don't want. I may not have directly hurt somebody, I may not directly have offended somebody, but I've done it within myself, and I don't like me when I do that, because I truly want to walk in the kind of love that keeps us unlimited. And so that, like Jesus said, the enemy came, but he found no place in me. And so I will use that particular guided meditation. First of all, I love Paul Bobin's voice and his music, but that particular one is the one that I use for me. And when I say forgive me, I have to forgive me. When I say I love you, I'm saying I love you to me, and it totally sets me free. So thank you for bringing that up, and that would be a real fun one for you. Your homework this week is, and I think on his link there, if you don't know what it is, I think there's on the meditation itself, I think you can push a link where he will give you a small teaching on what it is. So it will, anything that will help you to develop and get stronger and more released, I think is amazing. There's so many things we could do. Okay, did anyone put that in? Great, graceandlightness.com. Ho'oponopono, it's all one word there. And Paul Bobin, yeah, Paulbabin. Very easy to find. Okay. Thanks, Gigi. Did we confuse anybody? Everybody's good? Susan, okay, no one's confused. Greg, are you confused? Oh, he's just turned himself off. I'm not offended.
I don't know why that happened. I tried to unmute and I disappeared instead.
Oh, sure,
No,
sure.
I'm not.
Okay.
I've enjoyed it. It's been good, and it's lining up with other stuff I've been hearing this past week. So yeah,
Awesome,
it's been very good.
awesome, okay. All right. Anyone else have anything they want to share? Okay. All right. Are you doing this? I just saw Lana. Okay.
Susan is asking which, oh, sorry, no, Elizabeth was asking which meditation in particular were you referring to? 'Cause there's
So-
quite a few on the website.
Yeah, it's called Ho'oponopono. Eight. Well, I'll send it out to you. I'll put it on the river. It's a Hawaiian word that goes on like Hawaiian words do. They go on forever. Are you still talking, Elizabeth? Can't unmute. Okay, I'm going.
There, it just popped up. Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Perfect.
Good. All right. Well, if we are all just where we need to be, we can, I feel like I need to do something very spiritual. Oh.
A dramatic dance, maybe?
Something interpretive. Okay, well, we're Linda, good. Expansion, that's right, it's expansion, the right kind of expansion. Okay. Yolanda says we're still in Passover, 8 days transition, 8 days transition. Yeah, that was kind of cool. Easter, Passover, and the Islamic holiday all came on together on at the same time this year. It happens every 33 years. So we're in some kind of significant time. I just don't know what it is. I feel every day significant, so I just like every day, but those kind of things are good to know. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to love you, hug you in my heart, big time. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you, be gracious unto you. May he lift up his countenance upon you and grant you his shalom. I love everybody here. You are amazing. Thank you for joining. We will see you next week. Thanks for just showing up. You know, it's we just sort of take it for granted. Wednesdays, we're in the room. Maybe we should call it the room, but we're in the river. We're together. I love it. You guys are so amazing. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Helen. You are amazing. We love you.
Good night, everybody.